1,000 copies of Retro City Rampage DX on actual PlayStation 4 Blu-ray discs, and later on cartridge for the PlayStation Vita. To help with shipping, Provinciano enlisted the services of Fangamer, a popular
Let's refresh the page real quick. Ads.
might just have a chance.
I'm doing a Hail Mary. I'm printing 1,500 copies of Breach and Clear on cartridge for PlayStation Vita with the last money that we have. I didn't know if it was going to do well. I didn't know if it was going to sell out or if people would care because...
Okay, we're back.
Honestly, the game hadn't sold very well on Vita.
Breach and Clear was published under the moniker Limited Run and etched with the number 1, which symbolized it as being their first release. The plan was to put them up for sale online exclusively through LimitedRunGames.com. But there was one catch. How do you drum up enough interest in a product like this without backing from a major player like Fangamer? Giving one copy to a close friend who just happened to be an industry vet proved to be just the catalyst that they were looking for.
Gave a copy to our good friend Randy Greenback, and he didn't ask if he could tweet about it. He just kind of like got it and took a picture of it with the Limited Run sticker next to it, and it exploded. Collectors immediately honed in on it. We're like, this is awesome, I gotta get in on this.
On October 29, 2015, the first batch of Breach and Clear went on sale. To say it was a success was an understatement.
I think it was like 108 minutes was the total time it took to sell out of all of our stock. So it was like
First
right
ever
then
limited run
we
game
knew,
sold out in 108 minutes.
this is big.
The gamble had paid
108
off, and with
minutes?
that,
Yep.
Limited Run Games was in business,
What game
and Mighty
was it?
Rabbit Studios back in the black. But the real question was, what's the next step? The Mighty Rabbit developed Saturday Morning RPG was the obvious candidate for a physical release, this time on the Vita and the PlayStation 4.
I wanted to have my games, first and foremost, the games that I developed at Mighty Rabbit, on discs and cartridges so they'd have a legacy. As somebody who grew up with physical media, that's always been something I've wanted. Ever since I was a kid, I've wanted a game I made to be on a disc in a box, like a real thing. Like it kind of legitimizes your work.
On January 29th, 2016, Limited Run sold through all 1,980 copies on PlayStation 4 and 2,500 copies on the PlayStation Vita, cementing that there was definitely a market for this, and that Fairhurst was at the epicenter.
Just from having that insight as a game collector and a developer, I knew there was so many different reasons why this had to exist, why this had to be a thing. And I just didn't think anybody else was realizing that or noticing that, because the popular belief is that physical media is dead.
With 2 of Mighty Rabbit's releases available physically, it was time to expand Limited Run's scope and entice other developers. This is where Limited Run's co-founder would shine, one of Josh's closest childhood friends.
I met Josh in March of 2000 because we both were big fans of Gundam Wing, and we had the same science class together. We were the two friends, like when your groups start to spread apart, we always stayed together.
Douglas Bogart and Josh forged a bond of friendship through talking video games, writing bad Gundam fan fiction, hundreds of hours of Phantasy Star Online, and playing music. Their band name, Agito Plus 9, being an homage to the game that they love so much.
He started heading into video games when we got a little older, and I was still trying to do music. Eventually I wasn't going to be able to make it musically because he had already come to that conclusion way back in the day and I was more stubborn. He started including me more on some of the video game stuff, working as like a part-time tester, and then it just kind of got to that point where eventually he had me co-found Limited Run with him, and it kind of took off from there.
Douglas stepped into the role of Limited Run's PR and community manager with ease. It was up to him to approach the developers whose games that Limited Run was eager to publish.
Because I played in bands back in the day, it was really easy for me to go out in public and talk to people. And once we get that conversation going, I hand it off to Josh so he handles all the business stuff and like the actual like nitty-gritty work.
Honestly, your first physical release is a lot of work because you have to meet so many people at Sony, you have to learn so many new websites. It's kind of a hurdle for developers to get past, to do.
We were developing games first, so we already understood the market.
I'm learning how to do this. I might as well approach other developers to do it for them because I've already put in the effort to learn it, and they're not going to want to put in that effort. And the other thing, they're not going to want to put the money down to risk putting one of these things out.
Us having the solution saying, hey, we can give you a physical copy without putting you in a financial situation where you're broke because you had to overproduce.
I will do all the work with Sony and make it just as easy as making your game compatible with the format. It's just a couple hours of work. I figure that's a no-brainer.
Josh was right. It didn't take long for word to spread about what LimitedRun was doing. Having physical, permanent copies of their games was something that several developers were interested in. While most deals were still being worked through, it would be one of the most iconic developers of
a good
the
idea.
32-bit generation that would end up being the first to sign on. Oddworld New and Tasty was a remake of the PlayStation 1 bestseller that was released on several platforms, including the PlayStation 4 and Vita. Oddworld inhabitants would reach out to LimitedRun and express interest.
They contacted us about doing it because they liked what we were doing, and we had generated a lot of good press, and we were growing extremely fast.
On April 24th, 2016, 5,000 copies of the PS4 version and 2,500 copies of the Vita version went up for sale on LimitedRun's website. The release would include all patches and downloadable content on disc, a practice that LimitedRun tried to make a habit of, preserving the complete game for the future.
We were big fans. I had played it on PlayStation, so did Josh. It was just like, wow, I can't believe this is the first game we're doing that's third party.
Although this was a larger print run than they'd ever done, the popularity of the series warranted the increased numbers. It didn't stop the game from selling through almost immediately.
Oddworld is kind of like, it's a legendary name. And this just showed everybody we can handle big properties.
I'm sure you're familiar with the free games that PlayStation Plus members get to download each month. They come from a variety of developers and publishers, but mostly they're from the indie scene. Still, of the hundreds of free games available, I've put real time and effort into only one. There's just something about buying a game, not to mention the deliberate act of putting it in a system, that makes me care about it more than just getting a digital download for free. If I pay for it, I am gonna play it. And unfortunately, as long as you're a PS Plus subscriber, Sony won't even let you buy PS Plus freebies for you to hold on to for later. LimitedRun's fourth release was Futuridium EP Deluxe, a puzzle/shooter that was developed by Mixed Bag. It was originally released for free for PlayStation Plus subscribers.
So that was another worry of ours, like saying these people already have this game, like maybe they don't want it again.
I have this strong belief that if somebody gets a game as for free, they have a lot less attachment to it than if they pay for it.
The belief if you get a game for free, you have a lot less attachment.
You play it, you give it an honest chance. If you get a free game, you might play it for a minute and then just give up on it. It was free, who cares?
But it turns out people with PlayStation Plus wanted the physical because now they can keep the physical sealed and just play the game they already had through PlayStation Plus.
On May 9th, 2016, Futuridium EP Deluxe was released on LimitedRun's site. Available for both PS4 and Vita with a print run of just 2,000 copies per platform.
Mixed Bag was really happy with us. I had developers from Italy come up to me while I was eating lunch at E3 saying, hey, you worked with Mixed Bag, we're really good friends with them, and like I'd love to work with you. And
with another successful sellout on the books, Josh and Douglas began to pursue some of their most wanted games.
Octodad.
When we started the company, we made a dream list on Google Drive, like saying these are the companies we want to go after, and like if we could get these, that would be amazing. Octodad's been on there since day one, and like we never really tried, so I just kind of like one day I was like, screw it, I'm just going to email them and see what happens.
The answer was yes, and Young Horse's Octodad was released by LimitedRun on June 19th, 2016, with 4,500 copies for the PS4 and 3,500 for the Vita. Also on tap was a special Dad Edition bundle that included a game-themed tie-in produced by Fangamer.
It took a little longer to sell out just because at the time we were riding a little high after Oddworld, so we signed a bigger release. But it still sold out within 2 days.
We've got this weird thing though, where if a game stays in stock for more than 24 hours, we start getting a deluge of emails from people asking us to cancel their orders. Because it's not rare anymore if it's in stock for 24 hours or more. But then when it sells out, we'll respond to them like, oh, never mind, I don't want to cancel it anymore.
Up to this point, LimitedRun had only been releasing one game per month. This made sense when they were first starting, but as word of mouth and popularity increased, they had to figure something out.
We have so many developers coming to us with awesome games that we don't want to say no. Because I want to preserve these games. I want these games on my
Preserve the
shelf.
games.
I'm not going to turn them away.
The solution sounds simple in theory, just release more than one game per month. In July 2016, 2 titles, or 3 if you count multi-platform versions, would hit simultaneously on the 4th of July. The first of the titles, Xeodrifter from Renegade Kid, would see release on both the PS4 and the Vita, numbered at 2,300 copies per platform.
I don't know what to
What's
expect.
crazy
from
is
this.
that Jules Watson from Renegade Kid actually
Sorry, what?
called
I
me
don't know
on
what
the
to
phone,
expect
like
from
sent me
this.
an email, called me on the phone, talked to
Oh.
me like before we had even put Breach and Clear on sale, because he wanted to kind of investigate what we were doing because he's a big fan of physical media.
Xeodrifter looks and feels a lot like another Renegade Kid release, Mutant Mudds, which is one of the most popular games on the Nintendo eShop. So why not release it on that platform when a large chunk of the developer's fan base is there? And for that matter, why are all of the releases thus far only for Sony platforms?
So the big thing that Sony is allowing us to do that's kind of keeping us on Sony platforms right now is really low minimum order quantities. Sometimes they're letting us pay a very small fee to break their minimum order quantities and go below the minimum order quantities.
Microsoft, I feel like we could work with more so than Nintendo right now.
Microsoft is mired in paperwork and bureaucracy and money.
Nintendo is just kind of hard to work with at the moment when you're an indie company.
We're going to try to break onto those platforms. We're going to do what we can, but there's only so much we can do if they don't want to go below those minimum order quantities.
The second release of the day was Lost Sea, an overhead hack and slash with procedurally generated levels. This was to be the first entry in a multi-game deal with Hong Kong-based developer East Asia Soft, limited to 3,000 copies.
East Asia Soft put a lot of work into the packaging. They made manuals for the games.
But one thing absent from Lost Sea is also missing from all limited run releases. Something so subtle that you might not even notice. Where's the ESRB rating?
Games do not have to display them. It's a retailer requirement. It's GameStop saying, we have to have this rating on there because we don't want a parent to come in and buy a game and sue us when it's not appropriate for her kid. But we're selling direct to customer.
Talk about an underappreciated platform. The PlayStation Vita will go down in history as a disappointment for Sony, but for its fans, it will be one of the greatest missed opportunities. Now, have you noticed just how well LimitedRun has supported the system? Nearly every game that they put out, if a version for the Vita exists, they made sure it gets a physical release. By the time they reach the end of their current release schedule, LimitedRun Games may very well be the #1 publisher on the system. Crazy, right?
Vita fans are craving games because everybody says it's dead and AAA companies aren't supporting it. So any release you do for a Vita is like, it's gold to Vita fans. And it also shows that there's way more Vita fans than people are getting credit for.
Josh and Douglas would find this out firsthand when the second game in the East Asia Soft deal was released on July 29th, 2016. Soldner X2 final prototype had Vita fans going crazy. Limited to just 3,200 copies. It's an amazing side-scrolling shooter with a great soundtrack. It's possible that demand was just a little bit underestimated. A perfect storm of hardcore Vita fans and limited runs increasing popularity, Soldner sold out so quickly that many buyers never even had a chance to get their order in. It didn't take long for the internet to make its ire known with claims of making things difficult for the non-collector. Limited Run does their best to give everyone a chance with each release having 2 windows of sale. Half of the copies are available at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and the second at 6 p.m. When it comes to the number of total available copies, it becomes a balancing act. Produce too few copies and buyers might get angry because they couldn't get it quick enough. but produce too many copies, and they might not sell out at all. So they try their best to grow availability with their sales numbers.
We can probably put out a game with 3,000 copies, 3,200 like Soldner, and let people buy 2. And that will probably sell in about 24 hours. That's my prediction for how long that's going to last, because we actually looked at data, we looked at all of our past purchases, and we said this is where that should be.
Well, the data isn't going to match up every single time, as turned out to be the case with Soldner, but the lessons learned will be felt in the future.
It's always funny to me when people say, like, why don't you do more copies? And other people will defend us saying their game's limited run.
So as our customer base grows, you'll see those minimum, those smaller runs expand. Now, instead of being 2,300 copies like Xeodrifter, it can be 3,500. So that's like our focus right now, is growing our following so that we can kind of get bigger runs and facilitate them.
We tell everybody, like, the rights revert back to the developer. They could do more prints with somebody else if they want to, so it's up to them. It's just, with us, it's one print and that's it.
Released alongside Soldner was Breaching Clear Deadline. Think about it. A game whose release had pretty much killed Mighty Rabbit was now getting a physical release on the PlayStation 4 that was limited to 3,000 copies.
It's a complete remaster of what we did on the PC
Limited
version.
is correct.
Again, we chose that game just because it's ours, so, like, not to be biased, but any games we make will probably have a limited run for it.
Josh Fairhurst, Douglas Bogart, Mighty Rabbit Studios, and Limited Run Games had come full circle. Beyond Breaching Clear Deadline, we've already seen the release of several additional titles, one of which is their most high-profile release since Oddworld. Shadow Complex Remastered is a re-release of one of the more popular digital-only games from the previous generation. All 6,000 available copies sold through in under 48 hours. At this point, we can't help but wonder what the future holds for Limited Run. Competitors have started to pop up, but Josh and Douglas already have a number of high-profile titles in various stages of the process. Some announced, others a complete mystery. And while we won't know what those games are until they're announced, our minds can't help but run a little wild with possibilities and wishful thinking. But what about the game that Josh and Douglas dream of being able to release? The answer might be more obvious than you think.
And I guess, like, biggest stream game, which would make no sense for me ever to do, would be Phantasy Star Online 2.
Phantasy Star Online 2. If I could make that happen and have it be in English, that's my dream game right there.
We want to thank Josh and Douglas at Limited Run for allowing us to come over and spend the day with them. But most of all, we want to thank them for providing people with the opportunity to buy physical copies of the games we love and want to continue to enjoy into the future.
See,
It's
the
good
thing
to
with
see
Limited
people
Run
who care about the
is
medium the way
they give
we
physical
do,
versions to
fight
already
for
existing
preserving
games.
a game long after the final server has been
So this
shut
will be
down.
exciting in a weirdly down-key way.
Yeah.
I've been collecting games my whole life. For as long as I can remember. Every Nintendo game I've bought, I've kept. And it's really important to me to have game collecting in my life, to have games on a cartridge or on a disc or whatever. I can tell you a story about almost any physical game you pull out. I remember buying it at the store. I remember taking it home. I remember ripping the wrap off. I remember some significant event in my life that was happening when I got that game.
And now people are starting to miss the idea of having these boxes. They wanted to, like, proudly display, like, look, this is a game I spent, I don't know, 100 hours in. Like, I want this on my shelf to show people that, because showing people in my Steam library isn't necessarily as cool as saying, like, here's the box for the game.
If your game is just this digital thing that is going to be pretty hard to play in 20 years, who's going to be talking about it? When you have a working PlayStation 4 in 20 years, that game is still going to work in it. So collectors are always going to remember these things that we're putting out. There's a legacy.
Rated RP2M.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Limited Run
There was
Games
a
press
coach fighting later,
conference
what
for
the hell?
E3 2018, broadcasting live from the Limited Run Auditorium in Apex, North Carolina.
What? No what? Yes, go.
Now, introducing our hosts, Josh Fairhurst and Douglas Bogart.
Yeah, let's need to go put Sarah to bed.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Josh Fairhurst, the co-founder and CEO of Limited Run Games.
And I'm Douglas Bogart, co-founder and COO. Get hyped, everybody!
Get hyped, everybody. First off, I'd like to start by thanking everyone who came out to attend today. When we started out, we never thought we'd be filling up auditoriums with people excited for our releases. And of course, thank you to everyone online who's watching. Before we get to the section of the show where we announce upcoming releases and other shocking reveals, I'd like to talk a little bit about what we do for those in the audience that don't already know what we do. After that, I want to take a look to the past at what's been accomplished since we got started back in the fall of 2015. Limited Run Games is a publisher that releases small single-issue print runs, typically in the 2 to 10,000 copy range, of previously released digital-only titles, but we make those physical. We do this because one day, all of these digital games will be removed from the servers they currently reside on. These games deserve physical preservation, and you, the players, deserve permanent ownership. To date, we've produced over 160 physical game releases. We started out with standard edition Vita and PlayStation 4 packages, but we gradually added collector's editions, vinyl soundtracks, PC games, and other types of goodies to our lineup. This year, we've added another new platform to our regular schedule, the Nintendo Switch. Starting out with Terrible Toy Box's fantastic adventure game, Thimbleweed Park.
Now that the company-related backstory is done, let's get the show started with our first of many highly requested games. You may have noticed our drive to the stage at the start of the show, but in this Nintendo Switch exclusive, you'll be doing an entirely different kind of drive.
Starting with Golf Story.
Nice.
Okay, Golf Story's getting a physical release.
Cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Now you don't have to download it.
Yeah.
Assuming you can get a physical copy.
Assuming I can get one.
September.
Welcome to the stage, Limited Run's Shadi El-Haddad.
Hope you're all looking forward to Golf Story. This next game was in the works for years and years before it finally graced the digital storefronts earlier this year. Luckily, you won't have to wait that long to get a copy of it in your hands. Let's take a look at developer Joachim Sandberg's debut release on PS4 and Vita.
Okay, what next? Oh, Iconoclast. mean, it looks fun. This is literally like the E3 indie game showcase. Do you want any indie games? Was that called improving him?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, it was.
I approve of that.
Welcome to the stage, Emily Zielinski.
Next up, we have our two spine-tingly-dingly horror games from Polish developer Bloober Team. The first one will be launching on PS4, the second on Switch, both releasing during our Spooky Games month in October.
So one for PS4, one for Switch.
Lazarski, you there?
Dispatch, I got an emergency here. Can anyone hear me? The year is 2084. If they told me what...
For a moment I thought he was going to say 20XX, and I'm like, no, he said 2084, thank God for that.
Yeah.
KPD? Anyone in there? I am what they fear. A corporate tool of oppression. If you don't remember, if you won't remember, that's when they call me. To access you. To gather evidence. To dredge up whatever's hiding in the darkest corners of your mind. My name is Daniel Lazarski. I'm an observer.
Looks like a funky horror game.
Yeah.
This house is absolutely amazing. How about that smile?
Oh, Layers of Fear.
All right. The undercoat should be dry by now. It's time to get to work. Hello? Yes, speaking.
I've heard Layers of Fear is really good.
You ordered a true portrait, so that's what I painted.
The zombie walrus.
The clock struck one. Horror ran down.
I have heard good things about Layers of Fear.
Introducing to the stage, Brian Gay.
Really gives you the
Brian Gay, shipping boy.
You got even more switch.
I thought that just said Rain Gay. I got like, that's the name of the game.
I like how his official title is Shipping Boy. Thumper. Thumper's getting the PS4 and Switch physical release. That's actually really cool. I've been told I would actually really like Thumper. It's just I'm colorblind, so might have issues there. But, yeah, I'm looking to try it.
But there's a colorblind switch or...
Yeah, it's on Switch.
No, I mean like colorblind mode.
I could use a grayscale mode, I suppose. That's an OS thing.
Ah.
It's like a really funky psychological horror driven game.
I've been waiting to confirm this one for a very long time, and I'm sure many of you out there have as well. This will be our first localization project, and we'll be bringing it to PS4 and Vita. It brings me great joy to finally announce this, and I hope you're just as excited as me.
This is going to PS4 and Vita? This looks like a visual novel.
It probably is.
It probably is. I'm just looking at it like, this seems very VN. He looks like Edward.
I know. Yeah, just a little.
I mean, I know people are going to absolutely have their license to see Golf Story get a physical release.
Yeah.
Reintroducing to the stage, Douglas Bowman.
This next set of games is for a group of fans who made us into what we are today. We chose Breach and Clear, our only Vita console exclusive, as our pilot release, partially because of the nature of the Vita fan base. Vita fans are true diehards and the most loyal bunch out there. To help me announce this batch of games,
Oh, okay, so that game was only on PC worldwide. Otherwise, it was PC, iOS, 3DS, and Vita, but only in Japan. Alright. This game feels like it's from a while ago, but I've never seen it. So yeah, there it is.
They just summoned the Vita.
What?
First up, this pair of Cyberpunk games is from the same universe. Let's check it out.
Yeah, 2064.
San Francisco, 2064 AD. The world is on the cusp of a new form of intelligence, and only you are capable of uncovering the truth behind it all.
2064 is going to fit release on Vita.
Sapient machine. Jess Mees, a hybrids rights lawyer with a chip on her shoulder.
Hunter.
Lexi Rivers, longtime friend and disenfranchised NSFPD detective. Tomcat, an ace hacker with a mysterious past. Your investigation takes you down the mean streets of Neo, San Francisco. Who do you believe? Who can you trust? Crisscrossing this cyberpunk underworld leads you to the biggest secret of them all. Read Only Memories, a new cyberpunk adventure.
Neat. Oh, Valhalla. That's a visual novel.
Yeah.
So far, a lot of popular indie games.
Yes. Cyberpunk bartender action. I thought I could do that first.
Yeah, I think this is coming to PS4 and Switch next year. I think. I don't remember. It's coming at some point.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk bartender action. That's a way to sell a game.
Yeah.
Time to show off one last big exclusive, bouncing its way into our lineup this year. If there are any children in the audience, time to cover your face, peek through your fingers. Let's see what's on the menu.
Straight up mature 17. Oh, of course.
Of course it is, yes.
Yeah. Highly age rated. General someone kind of, okay. Okay. Tasty yet totally tasteless.
Tasteless, yes.
Reintroducing to the stage, Josh Fairhurst.
That's enough for the Vita right now. Let's look at what else is coming up on the Switch. And now, to begin the Switchual.
Summon the Vita again. Oh, he summoned the Switch.
Yeah.
Using the power of the Nintendo Switch, I'm about to make a very special announcement. This next game we're about to show you is available right now for pre-order on our website.
Available right now to pre-order this next one.
www.limitedrungames.com. Don't stop watching. We've got plenty more to show. Just go ahead and open up a second tab on your monitor that you currently have dedicated to live E3 hot takes from your favorite influencers and content maidens, and go check it out. Now, without further ado,
Oceanhorn.
Seems familiar.
Oceanhorn, ladies and gentlemen, available right now on our e-commerce website, LimitedRunGames.com. Now, it's important to note that this release was published by our friends at FDG Games. It is not part of the Limited Run Games collection, but we've assisted in releasing this game as a distributor. So this game will be available as an open pre-order for the next month. The first 5,000 copies that sell will be ready to ship in the next 2 weeks. And any copies sold beyond that will be manufactured to demand, and that will be the entire run. So if you want a copy of Oceanhorn for the Nintendo Switch to add to your physical collection, go ahead and get one now.
Welcome to the stage, Justin Okeke.
The next two Switch announcements we have to make are ones that have, in part, been cooked up in our own in-house development studio. Occasionally, we'll get our hands dirty and port other developers' games to platforms when they don't have the resources to do so themselves. Here's one many of you may be familiar with, now revealed on Switch for the first time.
Okay, actually a new game being announced for Switch. Is that Gordon Freeman? Limited Run do occasionally port games themselves. That's a pretty cool release.
Coming onto the stage, Kurt Hussein.
This next one has already been announced, but today we are going to be revealing its release date. Let me welcome to the stage LimitedRun CFO, Ben Moore. Ben has been a great help in keeping our finances in order and looking for investment opportunities. Today, he'll be helping us announce their release date.
Hey man, anything I can do to help.
Awesome. Now stand right there, and let's get this started.
Right here?
Perfect. Now stand still. Oldest trick in the book. If you haven't already guessed it, it's time to announce the digital and physical release dates for Night Trap 25th Anniversary Edition on Switch. From Screaming Villains, the digital release will be live on the eShop soon, and our physical release will be out for sale in July. Moving on from our internal porting efforts, let's look at another Switch game from our partners at Playtonic.
Rated E10.
They
for
just said
ages 10 and up.
Playtonic. Oh no, it's Yooka-Laylee.
Ha!
Okay, Yooka-Laylee's getting a physical release.
Yes.
Shredding onto the stage, it's Pete Biles.
Release is one we want to do since day one of Limited Run Games. This modern classic is a masterpiece in its own right, and since its initial incarnation released in 2008, has inspired countless other games due to its challenge and timeless mechanics. Chances are, this game will only ever be topped by its upcoming sequel. You're going to want to hold on to your seats and make sure you don't get lost now because the walls are shit.
Blunky.
Impossible, I thought, as I peered through the brush. Buried under the earth was a
Is that Mario
forest
in
so
the early
lush,
days?
filled with flora and fauna and pits large and small. If not for my chute, I'd have died from a fall. Dodging frogs, I descended, the jungle grew dark. I found a lit torch, but it soon lost its spark. Surrounded by darkness, resigned to my fate, my very last bomb revealed an escape. I emerged in a market filled with grumpy old men, hawking wares of all kinds in their clandestine den. One had a wrapped box and I couldn't resist. In my hurried excitement, I opened the gift. Next thing I knew, they were shooting at me. Make sure to pay first when you play Spelunky.
Okay.
Welcome onto the stage, Sarah Elliott.
We've got just a few more games to show you today. Created by developers Magnetic Realms and Xseed, we have an old-school action-adventure game inspired by Commodore 64 and Amiga platformers from the early 90s.
What do we got now?
Exile's End.
Exile's End. PS4 and Vita.
Is the release coming summer 2018?
Kind of sucks that the Vita physical card production's ending.
Yeah. A little.
At the same time, the system's also going to be 8 years old when that happens, so...
So.
Okay.
Coming in right at the last minute for E3, we have another Japanese title for PlayStation 4 and Vita. This game was heavily inspired by tribute game Scott Pilgrim game. Hope you enjoy it.
Phantom Breakers. Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds. PS4 and PS Vita.
Yep. A good old arcade beat 'em up. But I will only accept it when they show an elevator level. It can be under a baseball field. It doesn't matter.
That's it. That's the elevator's right there, bro. You must accept it.
It has been accepted.
Excellent.
Can't have 2D beat 'em up without an elevator stage.
I like it's like the minute you said that, like that was the next screen.
Yeah, it's like they know.
He's like, yes!
This game got announced at E3 last year, and it's my pleasure to finally give it a release date. I hope everyone stops being salty on my Twitter mentions after this, so I can have my social media sanctuary back.
Oh, is this Salt and Sanctuary? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Such a weird title. Why Salt? I don't get it.
Okay. I'm gonna point out we've been going for 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So they show it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like 2D Dark Souls, is what I've been told.
Yeah.
Like, everything is very deliberate and methodical. I think it's called Salt and Sanctuary because the salt is currency.
Xbox Live Arcade on Xbox 360, it felt like there was a fresh new indie game being released on the platform every other week. This game was one of my personal favorites from the era, and it brings me a lot of satisfaction to announce that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, and it will get a physical release from none other than Limited Run Games. Like Iconoclast, which was announced earlier, this game is also largely the product of a single developer's labor of love. Please take a look.
This realm has fallen to fade. We dare not even ask for a hero, for no
fucking
creature
hallelujah
should suffer so to mend this broken
Holy shit! Dust is getting a physical
He
release?
leads the greatest
getting announced for the
army
Switch.
our world has ever known, spilling innocent blood. Even now, I sense their
I have this game on
footsteps
PS4.
as they
I beat it. I
march
loved it.
ever closer.
There is a legend, the oldest of Elysian tales. It speaks of a warrior who wields that very blade. You, Dust, will turn the tide.
Well, no pressure or anything.
So Dust is coming to Switch.
You will be tested, Dust. An army of thousands stands before us, and they've never been defeated. Well, let's not keep them waiting.
Don't you remember your duty? Don't you remember your friends?
I remember everything. And it changes nothing! You did not know? You possess a rare gift. Never have I seen it before.
Nice. That's a good line.
And now, to close out our ceremonies, let's welcome back one more time Josh and Douglas.
Thank you to everyone for coming out. And don't forget, we'll be doing a live Q&A session on this stream in just a few minutes. Please enjoy the rest of your E3. And don't forget that Ubisoft's press conference begins at the top of the hour if you'd like to catch up with our boy Yves Guillemot and his gang to see what they've been up to. You may even catch a look at Ubisoft Dreamboat Patrice Desolé. But before we leave, we're going to show you just one more thing.
Hey. Hi. My name is Eddie. I need your help.
Okie dokie. That was good. Right, now we need to go find Ubisoft. Because they start in... 10-20 minutes or so. So let me just add source, web page, paste, done.
Number 4. An important life lesson from I Was Cuddles. Always bring a knife to a helicopter fight.